Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here for this daily medicine transmission. It is March 4th, the long anticipated March 4th, 2021. We have so much to talk about right now. So I want to focus on a couple things today. I hope everybody's doing well. Take very good care of yourselves. There is more solar weather incoming in the next couple of days. Throughout the weekend. Of course, when we have the third quarter square of the sun and moon in a square to the moon's nodes, very karmic. We'll talk about that at a later time with the astrology. But just know that there is much more coming in, a lot of solar activity coming in. The Schumann has been fairly quiet, but it is starting to peak today. So that's really going to lead me into the real focus of today's transmission. The first thing in terms of a very raw, intuitive guidance that I received was really to just stop taking everything so seriously. And there is a lot to take seriously, no doubt. There is so much to be upset about and to be frustrated about and to be wringing our hands about. And I'm no exception to all of this energy, but it's really important that we stay grounded and that we find some peace of mind and we are very confident in what we can impact around us because that makes the biggest impact. So that's the raw guidance. I want to talk about time, oscillation, frequency, cycles, and how that impacts why these dates tend to be important. Now, if you're already following astrology, if you're following this channel or any other astrological channel at all, or just your own astrological research, you know why dates are important because it's not about the dates, although numerology is factored into this. It's not about the calendar dates, but it's about the cycles of time that are mapped out by the astrological chart and the cycles of the cosmos. There is really no stopping that. That is not something that we have necessarily an impact on. What we have as conscious creators, as human beings, as being created in the image of God, right, of divine source, we have the capacity to interact with the world around us and to harness the frequency that is part of a natural cycle and manifest from there. And manifestation is not necessarily creating something out of nothing, although it does seem like that. It's much more about aligning with and attracting experiences, people, situations that are in the same resonance as we are. And so this is really what the realm of the magician is. And we're going to see this today in the reading. But I want to talk about time as an oscillation. I want to talk about why these dates end up being important and why it's important and why we use astrology in order to map these fixed points in time that are really just cycles. Okay, they're just cycles. There are cycles upon cycles, and this is a natural, harmonious aspect of our universe. Is everything travels in a cycle, in a wavelength. It has a frequency, which is nothing more than the number of wavelengths per time period. So when you measure hertz, as in the Schumann resonance, right, between 7 and 8 hertz, you are measuring the frequency of the oscillation of that electromagnetic wave, okay? That is what the Schumann resonance, it is the electromagnetic field that is put off by, well, it's put off by the heartbeat of the planet as a living being, but currently the scientific consensus is that it is created as a result of the movement of our iron core. So, but still, just like our heart is an electric pump, right, and puts off its own electromagnetic field because it is electrical, so does the earth. And the Schumann resonance has been coming up more and more and more. And there's a lot of misinformation. There is a lot of perspective and hypotheses that are being projected as fact that I really think it's important that we understand the difference so that we can continue to be scientifically literate, continue to be focused on what evidence we do have, and build upon that. It doesn't mean that those intuitive perspectives, because they are intuitive, or those hypotheses are wrong, they haven't been tested yet. There's not a lot of research yet about the impact of the Schumann resonance directly on the human and organic life. And there will be. I really feel very strongly that that is going to come about. And we have anecdotal evidence of our own experiences. When the Schumann resonance starts to go up in frequency, we have certain physical symptoms. When solar weather comes in, we have certain physical symptoms. They impact our physical and experiential reality. And so we know based on that there is some sort of connection, some sort of correlation. And keep in mind that correlation does not equal causation. Even though two things are related, that does not immediately mean that they are the result of each other. And this is a pretty standard tenet within the scientific method. Correlation does not equal causation. So there is a correlation when we get solar weather that the Schumann resonance starts to go up. There is a correlation between all of the earthquakes and the volcanic eruptions and the tectonic activity and the Schumann resonance. There are correlations and they're being explored. It just hasn't been definitively explored. Now, there are probably some reasons for that. Number one, not a lot of funding is going to go into discovering the innate connection between the heartbeat of the planet and the living creatures here, because that would give us too much power over our natural innate energies that are really our birthright. And as a caveat, this is just, I'm going to just say this once, that the Christian Patriot movement better get on board with this, because there's too much fear and pushback about how all of this stuff is satanic, and it's really about intent, isn't it? These are natural occurrences. This is natural law, frequency, energy, and vibration. If you want to go back to Tesla, that is all natural. And if we are going to be focused on God's law, then we're going to have to focus on natural law, right? Something that is not created necessarily by our hand, but to completely discount all of this as a result of the hijacking of it early on is really, we got to get on board. We got to get on board, which is why I want to talk about these dates, because March 4th has been a big deal, and everybody's been projecting what is or isn't going to happen, and it's seeping into the mainstream now, looking for some sort of event to happen. And this has been a cycle, coming to its own conclusion today that has been in play for a long time. And this is why it's important. It's not the dates themselves that are important. It's the cycles that are playing out. And astrology is the map. Astrology allows us to plot the fixed points in time that are cycles that are completing, that are oscillating, that are in their oscillation, so that we can be conscious and that we can be conscious co-creators and align ourselves with the highest version of that innate frequency. So I'm going to talk about the astrology, of course, today, because it's really significant. And that is why March 4th it's always kind of a big deal every year, because this is the midpoint between the sun's transit through Pisces, right? We're getting into the last half of Pisces where the energy really starts to dissipate, and it really starts to be about the perpetuation of everything into the next cycle. And so March 4th is roughly this time every year that kind of brings this all out, that we're kind of in this moment of a practice assault in some ways, and we are expressing and identifying ourselves through this practice period that really ends up, are we going to give our all to this process and take everything with us to go into the next cycle? That's really what the Pisces archetype really represents, and that is why all the boundaries start to be dissolved. That is why there is inspiration here and access to the mystical realms, because all of the boundaries start to dissolve and we really express ourselves through this. This is why it's such a struggle this time of year too, because a lot of with the sun, you know, that expression of ourselves and that identifying with ourselves, it kind of, the boundaries start to really dissolve and we don't know where we end and begin. And so February is often a really tough, and before the equinox, it tends to be really tough because everything is culminating and getting ready to come back to the new cycle. And so that means you have to deal with everything that has been unresolved in this current cycle. So it's always a struggle around this time. So, but there are other cycles. Now, let's talk about time as an oscillation, right? A wavelength. That's what I talked about. Time is a wavelength. If you think about, the orbit around our sun, you know, and so the orbit around any star, a planet or an asteroid or a comet, they all have an orbit around their central star, whatever that is. Now, it's not an exact circle, you know, an orbit is an ellipse, right? And so you also think that that cycle is also has its own oscillation, right? When you get out further away, it slows down. And when you come back to closer, it speeds up. And so it's got this slingshot effect and it has an ebb and a flow where it's not a consistent flat line. It's not a linear experience. It's definitely a cyclical experience. And so when we plot the astrology and we look at these transits and we say, oh, this is happening this day, this day, and this day, these are cycles that are coming back around. And we find that we can harness this energy, right? We can harness it and create from it. And we're going to see the magician is the central point of today because it is really, this is why these dates are important. And if you are not conscious of it, if you are letting somebody else tell you what they mean, I'm going to plot the points and tell you about the archetypal symbolism that's attached to it. But at the end of the day, everybody's chart is unique and everybody's experience with it is unique. And it's up to us as individual sovereign beings to make choices about how we're going to interact with these cycles and these oscillations. So why is March 4th important? And why has it been pushed out into the mainstream consciousness? And why has it been pushed out in other alternative media places for so long as the something in particular happening, trying to craft the narrative, trying to input a little suggestion, right? Very suggestive, isn't it? To be like, this is what's going to happen on this date, right? Something is definitely happening. This is why these dates are important, why astrology is important, why these cycles and the oscillation of time is part of natural law, and we have to learn to work with it as opposed to having it used against us, because I guarantee you that the bad actors, whoever they are, realizing it or not, they are using the astrology just as much to craft the narrative, to harness the energy of these cycles, okay? And that's why it's important that we understand the dates, that we're not attached to them, that we understand the archetypes attached to them, though, and that we make choices about how we're going to manifest from that energy, okay? So let's get right into the astrology so we can understand what exactly is the potential for today. It's all about potential, and that's the essence of quantum mechanics at this point. What we have learned about quantum mechanics, it's all about potential. It's all about potential. It's a field of potential, and where we focus is what manifests, right? And so astrology is the map. It plots the fixed points along these oscillations so that we can be aware of what to expect, and how we can harness it. So much of this has been imposed upon us, and people unwittingly and very innocently and with good intentions have gotten pulled into somebody else's version of these energies. And that is not conscious co-creation. That is not intentional, and it's not sovereign. And it's intentional to pull us out of that so that we give our power away to somebody else, something else that wants to make use of that energy and control things as a result. So let's look at the astrology for today. I've talked about it quite a bit. And we're just going to look. Oh, where'd you go? There we go. Let's look at this for now. Okay, so I'll get you the full view of today's chart. This is March 4th. This was at 7:17 a.m. So our moon is still in Scorpio, my friends, and this is giving us a really good chance to get deeper into a lot of stuff. So the moon is going to move into Sagittarius today as well, as you'll see. And so there's going to be a lift. There's going to be some optimism. There is going to be some friction, some fire. There is going to be a real drive to perpetuate this spirit of struggle, because it's really when we come together and we know our power together, that's when we really create things that are substantial. And we realize our power together through the course of Scorpio, because you have to go into the darkness and see what it is that is a shared resource when we come together. That is what we discover in Scorpio. So when we come out of it, as with the moon is going to come out of Scorpio today, is going to come into Sagittarius and really lift our spirits, but it's also going to give us a sense of we can accomplish anything together. And if that energy is being hijacked and being directed by a source that we give our power away to, for instance, this could easily slingshot into a specific direction that is intentional and wanted. So again, that's why it's important to be aware of these cycles and to realize that time is an oscillation, and astrology is a fourth dimensional tool. It is being able to move through time using the cycles, right? You can anticipate the cycles based on the fact that the cycles move in a very consistent pattern of oscillation, right? Just like all of this stuff is, all of the cosmos moves in a very consistent pattern, right? That we're not going to change. This is again, natural law. It's about harnessing it. That is the real spiritual tech, okay? So what else is happening today? Second of all, now I want to show you on this chart, because you don't get to see Black Moon Lilith on that chart. That chart is just easier to move through time without getting stuck. This chart, though, so we talked about yesterday, there's two main things that are happening today. One is Mercury and Jupiter are coming together in a degree of Aquarius that is about public unmasking. Because in Aquarius, when all of the individual nodes of us are connected into one network, it's impossible for there to be anything hidden. That is just the reality of it. And so when you're in a collective situation where everybody's on the up and up and doesn't have anything to hide, it doesn't matter. And so everybody is connected to each other in the network. Now, in a modern civilization, there are a lot of secrets right now. And so this is Mercury, the realm of the mind, communication, now moving direct. I talked about this before. Where was Mercury at this point? Twice already. One, the day before the inauguration, January 19th, Mercury was at this degree. Two, Mercury was retrograde at this degree. When? The week of the second impeachment trial, specifically the day that the defense counsel presented their case about the unconstitutionality of impeaching a former official. Okay, remember, Mercury was retrograde. Public unmasking of motives. Now it's meeting Jupiter, expansive, right? The leader of Sagittarius, the defender of our collective values, the defender of the heavenly realms, expansive, benefic, fortunate, sometimes a little bit too expansive, right? This is about the big picture, and Jupiter doesn't really deal with the details very much. It's all up here, right? It's all up in the sky, and it's all about the friction fire that allows us to create something new. That's Sagittarius. Now, these two aspects come together in this point. There's going to be an expansion of news. There's going to be an expansion of information, communication that is going to be very, very obvious on some level. And we've seen this coming for a long time. Now, what it is, that can't necessarily be predicted. I'm sure some people will try, but it's just like the weather. You can't really predict weather. I mean, that's the basis of chaos theory, that any variable change to the system will change the entire system, right? And it's the same thing here. We have these fixed points in time that are represented by the astrological transits, but we are the variables, and we put our energy into, and our intention is also a frequency, and we put that into this whole geometric pattern, this fractal that's unfolding. And so we are very much a part of what's happening. So, but any change in the variables changes the whole system. That's why it's really hard to make definitive predictions, and which is why I don't. But this is also why it's important to understand the dates and understand the astrological archetypes, right? Archetypal, as symbolic aspects, right? That's just Jungian psychology and the hero's journey. It goes way deeper than Jung. He just figured it out, that there is a set of archetypes of human experience that have existed cross-culturally and historically. Anyway, that's a different video. These two aspects coming together, they are in a sextile, right? A 60-degree angle with what? Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith is the point. It's a position, not an object. And so when the moon is going around the Earth in its own orbit, the apogee, I believe it's the apogee, the point of the orbit that's furthest away, right? When it's moving the slowest, when it's far out, the space in between that point and the Earth itself is called Black Moon Lilith, okay? This is our dark feminine. And if you know Lilith from biblical context, we're talking about the dark feminine. Lilith, who wanted to be on top. Adam wanted to be on top. They were equal. They were created separately and equally, and each of them didn't want to concede to the other. So what did Lilith do? Well, she said, I'm out, and she left the garden. Now she got the opportunity to come back, and she said, no, I'm not doing that because I want to be in charge. And so the dark feminine in Lilith is that part of ourselves that we don't even realize that is acting out of self-preservation, right? We don't want to concede to anybody else's power when we're equal to them, yet we are neither of those characters were willing to come to a consensus with each other. And so in the passive aggressive way, she said, I'm out, I'm not even going to play. And so we have to be real with ourselves about Black Moon Lilith and that part of ourselves, again, about self-preservation and how we will use the feminine aspect of ourselves of being passive and magnetic and dark, right, to get what we feel we deserve. And we all have this in our chart, so we all have this aspect to deal with. Now, luckily, it's retrograde right now. And this sextile with this expansion of information about the unmasking being right in our face and being really on the surface, very positive and beneficial. This sextile to Lilith, there is such a strong connection with where she's at in Aries right now that is about, how do I say this? It is like the polarized consciousness and the aspect of it that, let's see here. It's constructive and a constructive alternation of activity and rest. And so you can preserve your potency without having to go all in. And this is really, we can, with this unmasking, I feel like, and this connection to Lilith in particular today, we can see this expansion, we can feel this expansion, and we can allow it. We don't have to act on it. That's what I'm trying to say. And that dark part of us that will want to act, I guarantee you that we're going to want to emotionally respond to this information today, whatever it is. With her retrograde like this, we can preserve our potency so that we can apply it to something way more constructive, okay? Way more constructive. So that's one of the main transits. Now, the other one is that Mars is going into Gemini, right? Mars is at fixed star Alcyon at 0 degrees Gemini. This is Mars finally pushing the seedling, the sprout up through the soil. Okay. So this we talked about yesterday quite a bit, about the blinding light of coming out into the open from being underground. Mars has really struggled, I think, here with the needing the patience and the stable and consistent growth that Taurus represents. And so now popping out finally, there can be blinding by the light. And this is why it's so important that we have allowed our inner sense of vision to also be cultivated while Mars has been in Taurus. And this is about, a new dimension of reality and the conscious mind being translucent in order to see it. But, that window is still closed, right? We're not getting, we have a vision into what could be, right? And the revelation of unconscious energies and psychic structures that are submerged. We have a view of it, right? It's like a glass bottom boat. So we get to see it without like falling into the water, which is what Mars represents today. But again, this has a lot of energy behind it. Mars is the warrior. It is the god of war. Okay. It is the divine masculine that is penetrating and activating and enterprising. And so Mars might accidentally push through that window if we do not, hold on to some measure of patience and being grounded. And I'm telling you that this transit in particular is the one that I feel, this is my personal opinion, has been hijacked in order to really bring about some sort of battle, right? Because Mars wants to battle. And it's important that we get our masculine under a measure of control, while at the same time, that black moon Lilith, that dark feminine, also allowing our potency, because we're going to feel it. We're going to be angry. I feel like there's going to be a lot of anger, and there's going to be a lot of resentment, and there's going to just be some measure of being activated. Our survival instinct and our self-preservation is going to be activated, and we have a real opportunity to, again, preserve our potency, use it constructively, and let Mars be an enterprising spirit that knows that it's going to raise in consciousness without, smashing the bottom of the boat and just drowning, because then you're going to be forced to have to deal with the situation in more of an aggressive way. I feel like this has really been harnessed, and a lot of information has been built up around this date to harness this particular transit. So this is why it's important to understand these transits so that you can be a conscious creator of your intention in order to manifest your highest potential, our highest potential, because that's what this is, Catalyst Energies is about, facilitating this activation. And, I use a lot of different modalities, but astrology is one of the most common sense ones because it's laid out right in front of you. So that's, and the main transits that are happening today. And like I said, with the moon moving from Scorpio into Sagittarius, again, emotionally, we're going to feel that drive in some ways to, affirm the value of the struggle. And it's going to be in direct opposition to Mars, right? And which is interesting because there's going to be this tension now because we're emotionally and intuitively, taken over by our own emotions. The moon is just how we feel in any given moment, and it's just as fluid as water. And that perpetuation of the spirit of struggle for power can, it can pull on Mars so much that, again, the window breaks, right? And the boat starts to sink and the water starts to come in, and we're no longer just looking at, a potential of the unconscious structures. We're no longer at the beginning stages of discovery into a new dimension of reality. We are just fully submerged in the emotional aspect of it. And we have to be very careful of that as well today. So incredible transits today. And the moon already was in a trine to Neptune. So this water trine, if we are obeying our own conscience and we feel that so strongly within us, it will give us the ability to resist what is being imposed upon us as an authoritarian pattern of an aggressive society. There's a lot of aggression that is in this chart today. And if we know and expect it and we're aware of it going into it, then we don't get pulled into the drama that is being there is a drama that is trying to come forward and has been, crafted over time for this day in particular. And it's really up to us It's really up to us to actually change the frequency of this and to create something and manifest something that is outside of this drama. Okay. Wow. Okay. So let's look at the reading, right? And we've looked at the chart long enough here. Let's look at the reading so that we can get a sense of what's going on here. And I want to show you so much of what has, there we go. So you can look at my face again. Sometimes it's weird to just hear a disembodied voice. Not for everybody, but it's important. So there's a lot of earth energy in this reading today. All right. This is about being grounded. This is about being confident in who we are and ability to hold space for ourselves. This is about realizing that for all of whatever manifests that is going to feel like an upset or a disappointment or in some way really affecting our ability to stay grounded, for as much as that is going to happen, we really do need to kind of rise above it, not be enmeshed in it, realize that even these situations have a nugget of light and truth within them that we can harness. And ultimately, this is the best thing that could have ever happened, that we get released in some ways. The Magician is at the center of this reading. We have a lot of natural change, right? Harmonious change. And it's really about learning, again, to balance those aspects within us, to connect to other people that seem to model this behavior and look for guidance with them. And ultimately, it's about one foot in front of the other, right? It is about the putting our energy and our transformative will not into battle, but into harvest, right? Into being industrious and patient, okay? When we put our energy towards and harnessing the natural change, okay? So let's go through this one piece at a time, and I'll show you what I mean. Number one, the Two of Discs, right? The discs, the pentacles, the coins, it's all about material aspect, materialism, the nuts and bolts of reality, the discs. The Two of Discs, you can already see the Ouroboros in the Figure 8, the infinity symbol, the yin and the yang. This is Jupiter in Capricorn, right? This is harmonious change, natural change. The only constant in the universe is this change. Cycles of oscillation, always, okay? This is the only thing that is constant. The two is from raw material, the ace, right? The ace of discs, into an actual creation process. So coming into the moment, there is this natural shift, and a harmonious change, right? Because again, cycles of time are natural. The astrology plots cycles of time. And so this is a natural shift that we are engaged with right now. Natural growing, proceeding, harmonious, fluid. For as much as it is Capricorn, it's still Jupiter, right? And so it's expansive, and it's about the fire. So we've created something as a result of our spiritual alchemy, which is Sagittarius, and then it moves into, once it coagulates back into something, then we get the Three of Discs, right? The works, some measure of evidence that something has been created. This is the process of the shifting of form, but it's harmonious, okay? Now, this is the energy coming into the moment. Here we are right now. So if you saw in the actual spread, the head of the Magician is facing towards the harmonious change, okay? The Magician, right? Mercurial. This is Mercury, right? Thoughts create things. Energy goes where emotions pay attention to, right? Where we're focusing is where our energy goes, right? So if you keep focusing on the negative, you keep focusing on the fear, frustration, that's where, you're just going to keep getting more of the same, okay? And this is why it's important to go deep into yourself, because a lot of this manifestation comes from your subconscious, not your conscious mind. It's only when you've dealt with the subconscious, Moon in Scorpio, that you are then able to project those aspects out into behaviors, thought patterns, etc. So this magician that is at the heart of the moment, us as the magician, consciousness, action, and creation. It's a symbol for manifestation. Its head is towards the change, right? You harness the change. You harness the frequency of oscillation. Time is a cycle, right? What's happening today with the transits, you harness that energy and it gives you direction. This is how you manifest reality. And a lot of people react to situations rather than act on them. The magician shows us and reminds us that we can act as conscious co-creators and not react to situations imposed upon us. Again, this is why dates are important and understanding astrological transits so that you can be a conscious co-creator. Now, you can't anticipate everything. All you have real control over is yourself, but this is what the magician is telling us. So creative powers also need a physical basis, okay? So you'll see that everything surrounding this is of the earth physical element, except for this, right? At the heart of the matter is our ability to manifest and conscious creation. But we need a physical reality to base this in, which is what is surrounding this entire energy right now. Okay. So number one, our conscious awareness and our focus, the Queen of Keys, right? She is confident. She is authoritative. She's sensitive and she's helpful. She's thoughtful. She is very confident in what she has and she is not jealous. Oh boy. That's a big one. She's not jealous of other people's success because when we all rise together, that just makes us all that much stronger and more constructive, right? We're getting to where we want to go together, and it's only when we're all at our best. And so the Queen of Keys represents us as people, ourselves, somebody in your life. It's really about us. And I think for this reading, it's really about us harnessing this energy for ourselves, being confident, being helpful and sensitive, being, celebrating other people's success because we're all rising together. And there is a climb of the ladder of success. When this card comes out for individual readings, it will, depending on where it is, it's an indication that there is movement now. But this is really about being confident in our physical reality. And our attention here is meant to be placed on this, okay? And to bring this in as our institutional power together. If we can all, and this is very passive, right? The Queen is the water, the emotional element, and the keys are the earth. Water and earth. It's very feminine and passive and receptive. And so it's about being comfortable and pulling in, again, what it is that we want in our material reality. This Queen has done that, okay? She's definitely done that. So when it comes to So another keys, this is where we are subconsciously rooted, right? This is where our personal power, our root structure for each individual comes in. The Two of Keys is the treasure. So we have the Two of Discs and the Two of Keys, harmonious change. This reflects specifically that the treasure is within us. It's the light within us. And so this scene is about a person's room that is completely overturned. And he's kind of like, whoa, what the hell happened here? And there's a great loss or disappointment. The harmonious change. Something has shifted. Now, this is less harmonious and more jarring. But the point is that it puts you in a position to realize the real treasure is the light inside of you. You see the light above him. You see this is not a good picture, but the treasure chest, it's just got a crack in it and you can see the light coming out, kind of like the Ark of the Covenant. I kind of liken it to that. But there is a great treasure, and it's within us. So people can take everything physical away from you, material that can upset your entire life. Something can upset your entire life. But that is the change Change is the only constant in the universe, but what it does is allow you to realize where the true wealth lies, which is within all of us. And so when you focus on what you don't have, you perpetuate your victimization. When you focus on what you do have, this is how you're a conscious co-creator, okay? This is where we're at subconsciously. This is what we need to really embody in each personal way to inform us subconsciously. You put this into your subconscious mind, either through hypnosis. Yoga Nidra is a really easy way to do it. It's like the lazy person's yoga, right? It's just laying in shavasana with guided meditation, and then you are implanting your own seeds, whereas hypnosis, you have a practitioner. So if you really don't trust that process, you can do Yoga Nidra and plant your own seeds into your subconscious, and then it grows from there. But this is really just saying, at the root of things subconsciously, we are being provided an opportunity to realize that the treasure is within each of us. The treasure. And when you focus on what you don't have, then you feel like a victim all the time. And so if you're trying to create from that, then you're just going to keep getting that. So there's our Knight of Discs, the outcome here with all of these things put together, right? The Lord of Wild and Fertile Land. Look at this card. He's definitely in his armor. He's definitely on a horse. He's definitely got a shield, right? But you can see the sun, the concentric rings of sunlight emanating out from him. His helmet is pushed back, right? And his weapon is really a harvesting tool. This is about functioning as a provider and not a warrior necessarily. This is about being industrious, being patient, being steady and reliable, right? There's so much earth energy right here because there's going to be so much disruption today that we are being shown collectively in this reading that it's important that we are grounded, because when we are grounded and manifest through there, that is where real change comes from. This person works on tasks without being distracted, okay? And success results from the instinct and being pragmatic rather than being overly intellectual. You notice the only error in this entire chart is that Mercury, the magician, right? And it's being, again, projected and facing the harmonious change. It's applying that intellect and that mercurial swiftness of the mental capacities. It's applying that to the physical reality, okay? So sometimes there's a hard time relating to others, but it's really because you're just so focused on what you're doing and striving for material success. Now, that doesn't mean striving to get rich or wealthy necessarily. It's merely about you're putting your fire, right? The knight, you're putting your fire and your warrior energy towards this industrious and stable provider and cultivation, right? Rather than going into battle. And this is really a great outcome for today, but it really requires that we are getting very clear with ourselves about what our goals are and how to get there, and not to be, this person is not distracted by everybody else's whatever, right? This person is focused in and puts their energy towards their goal. All right. So a couple pieces of guidance for today. Number one, the Queen of Forces along with the Queen of Keys. This is somebody who is able to balance the polarities of themselves. This is, and a river is flowing beneath her. So again, the Queen is the watery, reflective element that's compassionate and empathic and reflective. And then forces, that is the fire energy, and she's balancing them. That is her real power here, is this balance. And there's a lot of peace, right? There's serenity here. There's gracefulness. If you're struggling with this Queen of Keys, right, of being this person, this is saying pay attention to guidance from somebody or some avatar maybe of this energy, of somebody who is balanced and is peaceful and serene. Try to bring that into your reality as well, because it's when we are able to balance these aspects that we are not taken over by other people projecting things onto us, okay? And you can direct energy, right, of your life but you have to be very balanced and very grounded in order to do this. Now, again, this meerkat has come out quite a bit, and it's get support from trusted group of like-minded friends, but it's really too about the importance of community and the importance of family and energy conservation, right? If again, we are stronger together. We are stronger together than any one person is on their own. And so there's resilience here. And there's a certain amount of playfulness that can be engaged in when you have the protection of a family of some sort or a group. So again, try not to take it too seriously and know who your people are and be willing to get support. Again, that Queen of Forces represents somebody or an avatar or an idea that we can embody to give ourselves some balance and to also be very powerful with our energy. But this is about getting connected to a community, to a family, because there's resilience and protectiveness here and support. And it allows us to, again, we're so much stronger together. We're so much stronger together than we are any one person individually. So that's why, again, being jealous as well of other people's success when they have earned it, through authenticity and transparency and not through being manipulative and lying, as some people do. We are very powerful together. So when it comes to that treasure, oh boy. So you're too enmeshed, right? If step back and see the bigger picture, there's definitely going to be an upset on some level today. And there's something I listened to that she was just like, don't watch the news on the 4th. And I tend to, based on my own intuitive reading of all of this, I would say, if you don't want to be pissed, I wouldn't do it either. But if you feel like you need to go into that space, just know that you have to take a step back and see the big picture here rather than getting pulled into the drama. So that treasure is only realized once you have, the change that happens in your material reality. So the condor is take a step back, get some perspective, get some vision, get the bigger picture here so that you can see that what seemed like a complete upset is really teaching you something and showing you the power within you. And along with that, here's our friend. Whoops. Where'd it go? Here's our friend, the Lookout, number 17, right? Now, when it's reversed like this, we are free. We're free from the battle. We've fallen out of the crow's nest, and at first you're going to be like, oh, shit. But now we get to just walk away. Now we just get to walk away and be free, right? The challenge is a gift in disguise. And so we get to walk away and be free and make a new pathway. So we've been the lookout for plenty amount of time. We have number 17, the lookout. We know that everything's burning up under us and we're looking out to see where things, again, that condor has that higher perspective, but the upset, falling out of this position is going to be a blessing in disguise. And if we can take, the perspective that we had before we even fell out of the crow's nest and realize the bigger picture, then we will be able to see the treasure within us. And once we walk away from this dumpster fire that is this burning ship, we really do have the space now to create something completely new. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting day, to say the least. So that's the transmission for today. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate every single one of you. We're stronger together. We really are. If you're interested in a reading or energy work and understanding your role within this cosmic design, you can reach out through catalystenergies.net or the email. It's both in the description box below. I'm on Telegram. We're on Facebook if you want to connect on social media platforms. And if you are really finding this information helpful and valuable, please subscribe either on BitChute or YouTube and hit that like button. It really does help independent content creators like myself who are being stifled on YouTube because I'm not monetized, right? And so they're not making any money off of me, so they don't push my content. And this is a lot of people right now. And so same on BitChute, they're not stifling. That's just new platform. So the more that you can share this information, hit the like button, subscribe, the more that it makes it accessible to other people so that we can be stronger together. That's the whole point. So guys, have a great day. Really take care of yourself and your energy. guard it well. Guard it well. And remember why the dates are important, because it's not about the dates. It's about the time as an oscillation. And I am here every day for the daily transmission, daily medicine transmission during the week. And there'll be some astrology for the next week coming tomorrow. Guys, I love you. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.